Well, Eddie and Gary, it's great to have you guys on the show. I have had many a dream about the idea of Fear Not coming back, and the idea that you guys are back now is pretty epic, because I'm going to date myself, and probably by definition you guys as well, in that Suicide Sunshine was probably at least one of my top 3 songs when I was in junior high, and I'm still kind of digging on that track, and I'm loving the new stuff that I've heard as well. But welcome to the show, guys.
That's cool, because that was my favorite song in junior high too.
Yeah.
Well, I'm only 18, so I've never heard that song. So no, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
No, that was a really powerful song. I really loved where that song went when we first recorded that song. It was we were like, wow, what was going to happen with this song? We got numerous, letters in the mail about people, just that song ministering to them and actually, preventing them from attempting to take their lives. So that was a really, really powerful song, not to mention a really killer drum part on that.
Oh, yeah.
Who played on that, Eddie? Who's the drummer on? Oh, that was me. Sorry.
Oh, yeah. I think that was Gary Hansen was the drummer on that. He's pretty epic. So.
Nice. Well, so,
you can pay me later, Gary.
Yeah.
Okay, checks in the mail, bro.
Makes checks payable to.
Make checks payable to Eddie Green.
I love it.
That's the only check you'll ever get.
Yeah, I know, right?
In this
world. ASCAP's not paying the bills. Come on now.
No.
Oh, man. Yeah, well, that's okay. That's kind of like what this is all about. So I'm all about digression. So for people who are not as familiar as I am with you guys, give us just a little bit of backstory on kind of where you guys have come from, and then maybe just kind of touch on how you guys came from not being a band anymore to being a band again.
Well, I'll field the first part. We came from San Dimas, California. There was 3 guys who were roadies for another Christian band that was playing all over, and we went to church with them, and so we started schlepping their gear. One day we got to do a little sound check, and we all realized we could all play, and so we started playing together, and we put an ad out for a singer, and Larry Worley showed up at our door. Imagine that. And, it kind of went on from there. The original bass player left. We were a band called Forever. And then we became Love Life, and we did a record with a company called Blonde Vinyl. Mm-hmm. And, just a shameless plug, that record is being released this month on vinyl.
Nice.
So that should be out in a couple weeks. So that Love Life album, and on that CD of Love Life, there's actually that original demo tape that got us that record deal. So that was Love Life. And then we kind of progressed on. Our guitar player left, original guitar player. Once again, Chris Sorensen landed in our lap. He was amazing. We started rehearsing, playing the Sunset Strip in Hollywood almost every weekend. We were playing a gig somewhere. We were gigging sometimes 2 and 3 times a week. Anywhere that would have us, we were playing. And we started gigging with a band called Guardian, this little band that some people have heard of called Guardian. And Guardian was they were kind of tasked by Pachyderm Records to find bands for the label.
Oh, okay.
And John and Dino Elefante came to one of our shows I believe it was at the Gazzari's, and they met up and said, "Hey, we want to talk about signing you." And from there, we did the Fear Not record with John and Dino Elefante and Pachyderm. And immediately after the record was done, we did Cornerstone 1994. You can find vintage footage of that on YouTube even. Nice. So that's kind of the history. At that time, really what happened was we were probably 4 to 5 years late with our style of music. Nirvana came in and the grunge came in and basically the hair bands went out, and the labels were all moving. Everybody was moving to Nashville. The whole scene was pretty much changing, and we just decided. Chris had moved on to Nashville, and we just decided that we weren't going to do a second record. We started to rehearse and write, and it was just one of those things. We kind of just grew apart. Everybody had to make a living. That proverbial Christian tour, our last tour we went on, we came back, we paid our merch table, we paid our roadies, we paid for our rental car and our plane flights, and we had $5 to split between 5 of us.
Oh, wow.
And we kind of decided at that point it wasn't, and then we had taken 3 weeks off our jobs, and we just decided at that point the timing wasn't right. And I'll get a little bit into the beginning of the reuniting of us, and then Eddie can take it from there. Basically what happened was some, really big fans. Larry moved to Oklahoma. Some really, hardcore Fear Not fans met Larry in Oklahoma and kept, we tried. I mean, for the last 5 years, we've been trying to say, Larry, come on, let's do this. And he's like, I don't think I can sing this stuff live. I can do recordings, but I don't think I can pull this off live. Larry has a little bit of asthma.
Oh, okay.
And, he just felt like he wasn't going to do the music justice, vocally, because he was so insanely great. He's still insanely great. I mean, you'll hear him on the records, you can hear him just wailing, but the stamina to do shows and touring. So these guys came back to us and said, hey, come out to Oklahoma and at least try it. Okay. So Larry agreed to do it. The four of us flew to Oklahoma. Well, actually 3 of us flew to Oklahoma, and we rehearsed, and we had it was really kind of cool. These guys took really good care of us, and we rehearsed, and it just kind of put a fire under Larry. And he's always been a consummate writer. He's always writing songs all the time, waking up in the middle of the night with songs, just amazing songwriter. And I guess from there we started talking about what we were going to do, and he phoned a friend of his named Eddie Green, and I'll let you take it from there, Eddie.
Yeah, so it was crazy. So Larry and I both, all of us for the most part, but Larry and I have this big affinity for motorcycles. Okay. And I met Larry. He was vice president of a Christian MC called The Priesthood. And I actually was prospecting with The Priesthood and got to meet him and loved his road name. His road name was Rockstar. And, at the time I was playing in Christian metalcore, playing with bands like For Today and War of Ages and, all these kinds of things. I was a screamer and singer, kind of like a Christian Kill Switch Engage.
Sure.
And we were signed with Brian Head Welch from Korn. He had a sub-label of Warner Brothers Records called Driven Music Group. So we were signed, and our first album had released, all over the world. And I was playing all these big festivals like Cornerstone and Sunshine and Creation and Rocklahoma and, all these kinds of things. Well, that band ran its course, and I decided, after 10 years that I was going to take a break. So I'd been out of music for about 2 years, and lo and behold, I get a phone call from Larry Worley, and he said, and I hadn't seen him for a couple of years from the motorcycle stuff. And he said, hey, he goes, I wanted to see if you might want to come over and do some recording, possibly thinking about fronting Fear Not. And I said, I don't understand. I said, you are the front guy for Fear Not.
Right.
And he said, Eddie, he goes, our album was released 25 years, 25th anniversary from Rocks Records. And he said, and back then there was no social media. We didn't know what kind of an impact we'd actually made in the Christian music scene. The fan base that we had ended up being a situation that they found out that they had made a much bigger and deeper impact than what they had ever imagined.
Right.
And he said, I need to do this justice. He said, I can't sing this stuff. There's no way I could do a full set. He said, just no way. Now, whether that's true or not, I don't know, because some of the harmonies this guy hit on the album, I'm still in great vocal shape from touring, and he hit harmonies that I couldn't even begin to hit, so now whether or not he could do that over a series of shows remains to be seen, but he was humble enough to say, if Fear Not's going to put its best foot forward vocally, I'm not it.
Right.
And he said, and I want to bring in somebody that I know has the chops to be able to do it. So I came over and recorded a demo track called Love Is All Right. He sent it to the band, and the band said, oh my God, this is what we would love to have. If we can't have Larry, we think this could potentially be the next best thing. They loved it. And when we all flew in to start recording the EP, it was like we had all known each other for years.
Nice.
And it was just a total God thing. It was the brotherhood, the camaraderie, the jokes were like we had been there forever, and we got in with no material. and just basically laid down 5 tracks in 3 days' time. Realistically, are the best stuff I've ever written, lyrically and vocally. You know, we just it was like iron sharpens iron. We put it out, and I said, you know, the one thing I'll be different is I'm not that dated vocalist. I'm very much a modern metal, modern rock style vocalist. And I said, you know, if that's, you know, so if you'll allow me to put my spin on it, I said, we want you to do what you do. So the old Fear Not stuff that we'll perform live, you know, like Suicide Sunshine and Give It Up and, you know, all of that stuff, I will do it true to form. I will pay it the respect that it is due and do it note for note the way Larry did it.
Nice.
You know, because that it deserves that.
Right.
And far be it from me to ever go in and try and reinvent the wheel. I mean, these guys, it would be like them coming in and trying to reinvent Even the Dogs. You know, Even the Dogs was known for being this incredibly intense, hardcore Christian metal band, you know, much like For Today and, you know, bands like that.
Yeah.
It would be like them coming in and trying to reinvent that. So, you know, I as a vocalist, the one thing I am is extremely humble and take direction very well. And I said, there's no way I said that I would ever do the vintage stuff any differently than Larry did it. I will do it identically to the way he did it to give it the respect that it's due.
Very cool. Very cool. So what do you think was the most surprising for both of you guys in all of this? I mean, you kind of made it pretty clear that you didn't foresee there being as much of an audience and a fandom still in existence, but was there any particular part of that was particularly surprising other than just that they were still there and they still wanted more?
Well, I think that when Rock's Records put up that 25th anniversary, we didn't even have a Fear Not website before that happened. We put up a Facebook on Fear Not, and we were just getting bombed with, you got to do something new. We've been waiting 25 years, and you put out the same album, you know, blah, blah, blah. It was just over and over every day, you know, people saying, you know, we want to hear something new. We want to hear something new. So that was the catalyst. And the other thing was the reviews that people and the things that people were saying about the old Fear Not and how it's music, but it's mainly about God and the Spirit moving through the band and all of us being touched by, hey, this song saved my life. Hey, this song is what got me through this. This song is what, you know, it wasn't about, hey, you guys are the greatest band that ever lived. It was, hey, here's how God used you guys in my life. And we were thinking to ourselves, hey, you know, there's a ministry here and it's not over. You know, the ministry's not over. And we met Eddie and his walk with God and his spirit was just in a line with ours. And so it was like one of those, it was a God thing, for lack of a better term. And the proof of that was, it was a late Friday night after the recording session. We only had 4 songs and we need 5 songs for an EP.
Right.
And we were planning with the producer, Cal Simpson. I have to throw his name in there. He's an amazing producer. If you guys are ever looking for someone to produce an amazing record. But anyway, we were sitting there thinking, okay, we're going to do a remake of one of the songs with Eddie singing.
Right.
And just to kind of tie it in together. And we were driving in the truck and I just Facebooked it. Hey, what song would you guys want to hear? And 10 instant replies said, don't do that. We've heard those songs. No, you shouldn't do that. Blah. So we're like, oh, crud. We don't have a song. And I'm flying out tomorrow at 6:00 in the afternoon. We sat down at 10 o'clock at night. We sat down on Larry's couch, Larry, myself, and Chris Sorensen. And Chris, like halfway home, he says, I got it. And we sit down and we pull out the guitars, and Chris starts playing this jam, and Larry's like, oh, I got it. And I'm tapping on the couch and just in amazement at these guys, and just like I got goosebumps right now, the same goosebumps I had then. I was like, oh my gosh, this is really going to happen. We're going to actually have this song. So we go in the morning, and producers keep gearing everything up to thinking he's going to do a Fear Not song. And we say, Cal, we got something different. So before noon, the guys had the scratch tracks laid. So I'm in there doing the drum parts, and you'll get it when you see it. But I get finished with the drum tracks. Basically, I look up and I see Eddie, and I don't know what he's doing, but he's frantically typing on his phone, right? And I'm like, because he wasn't there in the morning, he had gotten there a little bit later, and I didn't even know he was there. And I looked up the window, and I'm getting up off the drums and starting to clean up my stuff. And I hear him say, "Put up the mic, Kyle. Put up the mic. I got it." And he walks into the vocal booth and lays down, "Don't want none. Come get some."
Nice.
And it was like one of those things where, like, within 12 hours, we have this hit song. Basically, I think it's a hit. It's been doing great, on all over the country, actually the world. And that's how it was written. It wasn't thought out. It wasn't, laboriously. It was just like, go in. God came with us, laid it down, and Eddie came in and God spoke to him right there, and boom, that song went down. It was awesome.
Fantastic.
Yeah, the crazy thing about that was that I had not heard anything about this song at all. Like, I walked in, sat down on the arm of the couch. They were cutting the chorus riff, to make it bigger, on the drums whenever I walked in, and it just immediately started writing. And one of the things about the lyrical content and where I write a little bit differently, that I really write from the dark side of Christianity. I write from the struggle and the warfare side, because realistically, I didn't have any problems until I became a Christian. Life was easy for me. And whenever I became a Christian and somebody who really believed in everything the Bible said and the authority that you have, all of a sudden I became a threat. And because of that, I was under constant attack. And so the lyrical content of this CD is from that side of it. It's from, basically, we're not willing to be the meek little mouse in the corner. We're going to stand up and be the lion, and we're here to fight. And, we're here to take that authority that we have in Christ. But we're also, like in tracks like Carry Me, we are in tracks like Carry Me, we are incredibly vulnerable to the Spirit of God, and stating, we know that when we've had so much that we can't take another step, and he needs to pick us up and carry us the rest of the way. So it is, we know that this album is going to reach a lot of people from a very different perspective, because it ministered so heavily to us as individuals. Like, when it was all said and done and we recorded the album, we thought, wow, this is going to reach a bunch of people. And as we all came back together and got to hear the finished tracks, it was amazing to hear how God gave those lyrics to us first and ministered to us and worked in our lives to make us better for him. That's how we know this is something special.
Very cool. Now, how do you guys, well, I guess more specifically for you, Gary, because Eddie, you kind of came in to this process as a new member, but for you, Gary, and for the rest of the guys who are making up the band now, who have been in the band before, how do you feel like this process and the end result of the EP differ, or have are maybe different than expectations that you might have had about what it would be like if the band ever got back together?
I honestly, I love playing live, and the writing process and the whole thing was more in the hands of Chris and Larry back in the day. Mm-hmm. And I was the guy booking the shows, putting the gear in the van, managing the whole tour side of it. And what I was looking for is, from a personal level, is I just want to step back out on the stage and play. Mm-hmm. I want to play, and I want to talk to kids afterwards. I want to talk to people who are hurting. I want to minister. It's the ministry aspect that I miss. And it was amazing what we got to do in Hollywood and what we got to do around the country, when we did get to play. So that's kind of the perspective I was looking at. I know Larry loves the writing process and the recording process and making things amazing. And he's kept up doing that. And we've all kept playing. So we were all players. Mm-hmm. I mean, we're all still playing, on a semi-professional level. So it was that urge to get back together. And then, just meeting Eddie and seeing that we could be, relevant again. And we're not just going to have our old songs. And we could have done that. We could have went out and played our old songs. We could have done, a lot of, we could have written songs that were similar to what we did. But the whole getting Eddie in the band and becoming more relevant and having that modern sound is just, it's so exciting. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it's, for me, I'm right there with Gary. I'm a live guy. I am so much better of a live singer than I am a recorded singer, which is kind of a conundrum. You hear these people cut these incredible live, albums, and then they go out live, and you're so disappointed when you leave the show. You're like, right, oh my gosh, that guy couldn't hit anything that he recorded. I'm different. I'm polar opposite of that. I feed off the crowd. I am a guy that my live vocal is so much better than my recorded vocal. But more importantly than that is the same thing. My mission in life lined up so heavily with what Fear Not was about, which my mission in life is to reach kids that would never set foot in a church, that are wounded by religion, that have been, because of the way they look or because they're a little bit different, they don't fit in the traditional sense of your church. They're walking in ball caps and gauges and it's becoming more and more accepted now. But you got to realize that was even having earrings and long hair back in the day. There were a lot of churches wouldn't even allow you to walk through their doors. I had a pastor change his entire sermon from the pulpit because I was the only person in his congregation that was visiting there or that even went there that had gauges in my ears. And he said it point blank. He goes, I had this beautiful message up here. And he said, and I, wanted to let you know, he said that God has laid it on my heart instead to change it. And I have to be obedient to the will of God. And we're going to talk today about the evils of tattoos and men wearing earrings. And I looked around and I was the only person in there. And I threw my arm around my wife and I said, well, this should be interesting. And I said, so, and I listened to it and I got it, because I tell you what, if we easily take offense, the devil wins. And I sat there and I listened to his message and I will go to walk out of the church and he's standing at the door shaking everybody's hands. And he says, what'd you think about my message today, young man? And I said, well, I said, obviously you were following the will of God. I said, far be it from me to ever challenge what God's going to speak to you about. And I said, I thought you did good. It looks like you have a growing congregation. And I said, I pray blessings over you, Pastor. And he kind of looked at me for a second and he goes, you don't have anything to say about what I had to say? I said, just one thing. I said, if my God is not any bigger than an earring, I'm serving the wrong God.
Ooh.
And he looked at me and he said, and I said, I'm going to reach the people that God's called me to do. I'm doing exactly as God's called me to do. I encourage you to do so, and we'll both increase the kingdom of heaven. I said, which is what it's all about. Yeah. So we're on the same team. We just have different positions. I said, so again, I speak and pray blessings over your church and your family. I said, but this is not the church for me. I said, I don't believe in condemnation. Yeah. I said, my Bible tells me there is therefore no condemnation in Christ Jesus. And I said, he's given me the power to raise the dead, heal the sick, cause the blind to hear and the blind to see and the deaf to hear. I said, but he's never given me the authority to stand in judgment of another person. Yeah. And I said, so you have a wonderful day. And I turned around and grabbed my wife's hand and walked out and I never went back. Yeah. But there are kids that don't feel like they belong. Yeah. And, we are in a doom and gloom outcast genre. Yeah. And, so we want to show them that God loves them too. And, so to listen to their hearts about what they're about and the interaction and that they truly do believe that this is not just music, it's a ministry. That's something I can get behind. For sure. Well, guys, I think that's fantastic. Now, so you guys have already done some shows, obviously, and I know that there's at least a couple on the horizon. I saw the one that's going to happen in Oklahoma with some of the other bands that I've had on the show before, and I think that sounds like that's going to be a lot of fun. Are you guys planning on doing like a full-fledged tour or just kind of doing some dates here and there as they come up?
Well, we would love to do a full-fledged tour, but, the fact that we're all 50 plus, or 45 plus, middle class dads. Yeah. We probably.
I told you I'm 18.
Yeah.
We're willing, we're basically, just part of the difference from now and when we were doing it back in the 90s is in the 90s, we had visions of doing it for our job and doing it for our ministry and doing it to support our families and our lifestyles. And we found out quickly that, and even back then it was a little better than it is now. We found out quickly that it that has to be God's will, not ours. And so we have proposed to the band and all of us that we're going to do whatever, and we're going to go where he tells us to go. We're going to do what he tells us to do. The consequences.
If God tells us to leave and go and do 200 shows, we're going to be obedient.
Yep.
Just like Paul told the Corinthians, just put one foot, as long as you're moving, put one foot in front of the other, and so absolutely. I mean, we all are older and career guys and, mortgages, wives, bills, the whole thing. But none of that matters none of that matters if God says, I need you to go.
Right.
And, so, right now we're not setting any plans in motion for there to be some major tour behind this record, but we're also not setting plans for that to happen. We're just going to be still and listen to the still small voice, and whatever it is that we're supposed to do, God will open those doors and we'll be faithful enough to be obedient and walk through them.
Okay. Gotcha.
If they want us on tour, let us know.
There you go.
Tell them to pray it into existence, and we'll go.
There you go.
One of the cool things, Paul, also is that we are, this is grassroots. Rox Records was kind enough to produce, manufacture and fund the actual production, not the production, but the physical production of the product.
Yeah.
But we're not on signed to a record deal.
Right.
We don't have a record contract to pay back.
Right.
We don't have any bills. We did the record, by the provision of God. And so it's clear. We don't owe for, thousands and thousands of dollars. We didn't have to do a GoFundMe. How it happened was, when you hear the record, you would think it costs millions of dollars to make, and it didn't. And we took advantage of the benefits of this times, but we're also in the disadvantage of, nobody's buying records, physical product, hardly. Right. And people are wanting to see shows. That's where the actual dollars will come. The other point for us too is that we're geographically undesirable. Rod and I live in California. Larry and Eddie live in Oklahoma, and Chris lives in Nashville.
Yeah.
And Chris is a full-time touring musician of the band, so it makes it really tough.
Right. Yeah, and that does make it hard.
That being said, yes, you will see us live.
Oh yes,
it's not gonna. That's not gonna happen. We have, we're trying to put currently in the works CD release shows in California and Oklahoma, potentially jumping on a major bill in Tennessee.
Okay.
We've got some offers to be able to go out and to go do shows, and we will. But the thing about it is that it may be special engagement type stuff, or it may be that God does call us to go out and go do some shows on a full-fledged tour. But, it's something that we're heavily in prayer about. I fully believe, and all of us fully believe, that you can't just put an album out and then not play it live.
Yeah.
You can't do that, so we understand we have an obligation to the fans to get out there.
Okay.
So, and we will.
Nice. Nice. Very cool. Very cool. Well, Sweetness, well, I guess I have kind of like a somewhat frivolous question that I just think is kind of interesting that just kind of popped into my head. But since you guys are a band that had been kind of out of circulation and not really, you hadn't been a band for a while up until recently. Is there any other band for either one of you guys that y'all would love to kind of pray/wish back into existence to make new music and to tour?
Oh, wow. Me personally, I would love to do a show with the Sweet Comfort Band.
Nice.
Who's the lead singer of that, Andy?
Brian Duncan. And he's still around.
It's funny. Eddie, I don't even know if you know this, but I played with Brian Duncan. And one of my good friends, one of my good friends is his current drummer.
Yeah,
he was right here by
back in the day. I'd love to do a show with Messiah Prophet.
Nice.
I'd love to do a show with Barnabas. I would love, bucket list would be to do a show with Res Band.
Oh, there you go. There you go.
And would absolutely love, I mean, Stryper was the reason I got into music. I've actually been blessed enough to play with Robert Sweet, when he was touring with his side project Bliss.
Yeah.
Robert was awesome. And then would love to do a show with White Cross. I think it would be awesome to do a show with even some of the lesser known bands like Jerusalem.
Yeah.
Some other bands like that.
Very cool.
I think the ultimate for me would be to do like a Guardian Holy Soldier Fear Not tour.
Ooh, I'd be down for that.
That'd be Guardians, they were a strong influence. And in fact, Carl Ney wrote some of the lyrics on the first Fear Not album. So,
very cool.
I mean, they're never going to do it. I know that. I've talked to them. I've seen them. They played last week and it was like, we did this gig and that's it. We're not making new records. We're not doing anything. And we understand that.
Right.
I understand that, but it sure would be cool.
Yeah.
To do a show with them.
That would be cool. I got to DJ Carl's son's wedding not too long ago. So that was fun.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. Life is good. Well, cool. Well, is there anything else that you guys want to add for people to know either about the upcoming EP or just kind of the band in general that we haven't covered?
Besides, go buy it. Go buy it, request it on the radio station, get it started. I mean, we fully believe in, and this is a bold statement and it doesn't mean to be that way, but Carry Me is such a powerful ballad. It would not shock me that if it gets marketed correctly for that song to get nominated for a Dove or a CCM.
Nice.
It is just really strong with a super strong message, incredible musicianship, very catchy, very crossover song. And, so we're proud of the entire record. Don't get me wrong. It's a rock record.
Yeah.
But it's one of those situations to where we really feel like the Carry Me can reach so many people. It's just got one of those messages of destitution and just almost to the point of hopelessness, and to be able to be reached down and pulled out of it, and we know a lot of people are going through those circumstances today. So, but the main thing is that when you guys pick it up, for people that are listening, when they pick up this EP, go tell your friends, this is the EP of 2019 you need to own. I mean, this is if you go buy one EP or you go download songs from one artist, go check out the new Fear Not. You won't be disappointed.
Very cool. Very cool. I like it. Well, sweet deal, guys. Well, I always end the interviews that I have with one question that I always find to be maybe the most revealing about those being interviewed, whether it's a full band or even individuals. But from each one of you guys, despite the fact that you were in a band that's putting out some great music, and you guys have been part of bands in the past that have put out some fantastic music that is, at minimum, very rock and roll. With that being said, what do you think from each one of you is the most un-rock and roll thing about you?
Gary, go ahead, man.
Wow. That'd be a question for my 20-year-old daughter.
Yeah. Well, you can answer for her. What do you think she would say is the most un-rock and roll thing about you?
My personal thing, I think I'm a great dancer.
Okay.
I'm an amazing dancer, but I think my dance moves come from Jesus. But my wife and daughter, they seem to differ. They seem to differ on an opinion. They say it comes from somewhere, but not the place I think it's coming from. So
somewhere further south.
I think I like to dance, and maybe that's not rock and roll.
Well, what's your go-to song to dance to?
Good.
Taylor Swift. I'm in trouble now, huh?
Oh, it's okay.
I like
yeah.
Yeah.
You just lost your rock and roll man card.
I lost my rock and roll. I like dancing to Taylor Swift. I'm sorry.
Well, at least you didn't refer to her as T Swizzle.
Actually, truthfully, Taylor Swift, one of the greatest writers right now. I mean, and then you can take, there's a metal band out there called I Prevail that did a cover of her song Blank Space that is probably, you would think they wrote it.
Yeah.
So I have no problems with Taylor Swift, Gary. You're good there, man.
Okay.
If you have said Britney Spears or something like that, we'd have been in trouble. But
your turn. What makes you not rock and roll?
There's so many things that make me not rock and roll. I'm going to say it has to be two, and there's a little bit of a backstory. So when I was living in the metalcore scene, signed to a major record deal, music video on Headbangers Ball, all this, I am a diehard preppy.
Okay.
I mean, a total diehard prep. I walk into Hot Topic looking for some gauges, looking for a couple band T-shirts to play on stage. This kid walks up to me and he's like, "We don't allow your kind in here." I had a very unchristian like moment, and I said, "Brother, I live it. I'm not a poser." I said, "I am not somebody in here that wears, Nightmare Before Christmas stuff and tries to act like I'm, that I'm this. I actually live this lifestyle." Walked over to the kiosk and pulled up my song and played it over the store loudspeakers, bought my own song and played it over the store and sit there and go, that's me, man. That's me right there. I said, so before you judge a book by its cover, because I'm wearing American Eagle and Hollister and all this other stuff, I said, let's keep in mind, I live this. So I had that happen very, I'm the adult, but I acted very much like a kid in that situation. The other one is that I'm a consultant and a sales professional. So I cover up my metal rock and roll side very, very well.
Okay.
Aside from my gauges, I wear like flesh colored gauges, but I'm, in front of presidents and directors of operations, CEOs and CFOs. So when you see me in that, it's like I'm bipolar. Yeah. It's like I'm either professional Eddie or I'm rock and roll Eddie, so, and sometimes people don't believe the two can go hand in hand, but they can.
There you go.
What's really interesting too, Eddie and Paul, is that the whole band is like that. Larry has an important position in his company. I'm also a professional sales person, and Rod owns his own company and travels all over the country and the world. So we're all like on that professional level of that we're supposed to be on at our age, I guess you would say. But at night we're banging our heads.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, the funny thing is that when you tell people like, I'll be traveling on a consulting gig and I'll be traveling on a plane or something, and people are like, well, what do you do? And I said, well, I'm a motivational speaker and professional sales consultant, and I said I do this, and I said, but I also do play in a rock band, and they kind of look at you and they're like, yeah, sure you do.
Yeah.
No, I promise I do. It's like I did, and here's the lyric video, and here's this, and they'll be like, sure you do. You're just trying to impress me, So, but my kids can attest to it. They're like, oh my God, man, my dad's never going to give this stuff up. He's still, and I won't. I'll be 80 years old playing an acoustic guitar in a nursing home for anybody that'll listen. Music is who I am, and it will always be that way. So I think it's cool. I always tell people I'm professional Monday through Thursday and Friday through the weekend. I'm a rock star.
There you go.
And it's the best of both worlds, and I'm always going to be that rocker and always going to have that mission in life to go reach those people for the kingdom of God. But in the same thing, God's called you to be a good steward. And I have to take care of my family, ordain a family before he did the ministry. So, I have to go out and take care of my family. So to do that, I want to do that to the best of my ability. And he's blessed me to be an amazing sales guy. And therefore the two go hand in hand.
There you go. Cool. I like it, guys. Well, thank you both so much. I'm looking forward to getting to hear the new EP, and I know that there's a lot of fans out there who are going to be very open and embracing of the new sound, and that you guys are out there doing it again, and hopefully we'll get a chance to catch you guys on a live date. And man, I just appreciate your time. It's been fun.
March 8th.
Thanks a lot, Paul.
March 8th.